어려워서야.
Ibum became angry because Suncheck trusted Yigyu more than her own fiancé. Then Ibum ordered Suncheck to stay away from Yigyu. Actually, Suncheck just didn't want Ibum's hands covered in blood from killing people and being called a hound. Hearing this, Ibum felt disappointed, because it seemed like Suncheck was opening old wounds. Although Ibum thought Suncheck knew the truth about him, it turned out not to be at all. Ibum went to the king and informed him that he had completed his duty. Hearing this, the king was very satisfied because Ibum had returned to being his beloved prince like before. Ibum's servant asked Ibum to come inside because the weather was cold, but Ibum felt he needed some fresh air. The servant knew Ibum was arguing with Suncheck because it was evident from his facial expression. Actually, Ibum was just worried because of rumors about people who close to him would suffer. But the servant felt that this was not true because the proof was that he was fine even though he had been with Ibum for a long time. It turned out Yigyu gave the order for his men to dump the kidnapper's body under the bridge. Yuni is still curious about what Yigyu really wants from her, but Yigyu feels he doesn't need anything from her. Yigyu just wants Yuni to act normal and remain friends with Suncheck. And Yuni will soon find out Yigyu's true intentions. In the morning, Yuni went to Suncheck's house to help preparation for her wedding. But Yuni felt that Suncheck didn't exude the aura of a girl about to get married. Yuni wondered if it was because of the rumors. Rumors said that Ibum had just killed the exiled former prime minister. They said that the bloodshed had started again because the hunting dog couldn't hold back. But Suncheck felt that it was just a rumor and wasn't necessarily true. Wasun was very upset because her father punished her by staying in the temple, even though she hadn't done anything, and because she hadn't done anything wrong, Wasun planned to find the culprit who caused her punishment. If she found the real culprit, she could be freed from her father's punishment. And Wasun left the temple. It turned out that Wasun had left without any money and could only look at the food without being able to buy it. Suddenly, her father passed by and she hid, but Yuni saw her and was shocked because Wasun looked shabby like a beggar. Of course, Wasun was upset to hear Yuni mock her like that. Then her clubmates came and they defend Yuni more than Wasun. They will also hold a club meeting without inviting Wasun, and Yuni will lead the club. Seeing this, Wasun is very upset and is determined to catch the real culprit. Sujiem waited in front of Yuni's house because he had something to discuss. Then he took out the paper he had found earlier, and Yuni was very surprised to see it. Because the words written on the paper were the same as the letter Suncheck received, Sujiem wanted to hear Yuni's explanation. But Yuni confirmed what Sujiem saw and was thinking now, that means Yuni had indeed lured Suncheck with a fake letter and had her kidnapped. Sujiem felt disappointed that Yuni could do such a cruel thing. Yuni felt that Sujiem wouldn't understand because he was born into a wealthy family. But Sujiem couldn't justify any excuse if it hurt someone, so he asked Yuni to confess her actions before he told Ibum. Hearing this, Yuni acted arrogant because she didn't have a problem with it, and Yuni also knew that Sujiem's father was a member of the Huxa clan, a group of rebels led by Yigyu. And Sujiem couldn't believe what he had just heard. Ibum checked the wounds on Suncheck's kidnapper's body. The first wound one missed and the second hit the target. The first wound was inflicted with a silver dagger used by the woman, and the second wound was inflicted with a sword used by someone else. Ibum felt that the woman had an accomplice. The king summoned Ibum and told him to confess his sins. Ibum was confused by what had happened, so the king brought the former prime minister into the palace. It turned out that Ibum hadn't killed the old man because his daughter was getting married, and he had faked his death. Ibum only slightly injured his face and said that he had killed him with his sword that day. Some officials expressed that Ibum's actions amounted to treason and asked the king to punish Ibum. But Suncheck's father felt that the former prime minister had been punished long enough by exile, so it was time for the king to forget his actions. Hearing this, the king would forgive him and give Ibum a chance to correct his mistakes. The king asked Ibum to kill him in front of him, so he would forget Ibum's mistakes. Then Ibum took the sword, and the former prime minister allowed Ibum to kill him, because now his daughter's wedding had taken place. But Ibum remembered Sun Chake's words about not wanting Ibum to bear any more revenge, so Ibum refused the king's order. Suddenly Yigyu killed the former prime minister from behind because he couldn't just sit back and watch. And the king was happy to see that because Yigyu could lighten the king's burden. Then the king gave orders to remove Ibum's position in the palace. Ibum was furious because he knew it was all Yigyu's doing, what Yigyu actually wanted. Yigyu felt it was because Ibum hadn't done his job properly. Her father told her that Ibum was removed from his position because Ibum didn't carry out the king's order to kill the man and made a false report. That was because the man begged Ibum to postpone killing him because his daughter was getting married. Hearing this, Sunchake regretted saying bad things to Ibum. Sujium's father asked Sujium not to be friends with Ibum anymore because he could die if he was near him. Sujium felt his father was siding with Yigyu, the leader of the Huxa clan. His father thought the palace owner would change and a new world would soon begin. Meanwhile, the puppet king only survived because of Ibum, so they had to get rid of Ibum first. Sujium met Ibum and asked how he was, but Ibum thought he shouldn't meet him because it wouldn't help him. Sujium said that there was something he wanted to tell Ibum. Ibum drew his sword on Yuni, but she wasn't surprised, as if she already knew he was coming. Without further ado, Ibum asked who helped her, because he found footprints and handprints on the kidnapper's body. So Ibum told Yuni to tell the truth. But even though she was cornered, Yuni wasn't afraid because she was sure Ibum wouldn't dare kill her. That's why Sunchake didn't want him to kill anyone again. Because Ibum truly loved Sunchake and couldn't oppose her. Then Ibum held Yuni captive, and he would release her if she revealed who her accomplice was. Because Yuni was Sunchake's best friend, Ibum still kept it a secret from Sunchake. And news of Yuni's arrest had reached to Yigyu. A woman throws eggs to Ibum. The woman cursed Ibum for being an evil murderer because she felt he had killed her husband. Suddenly, Sunchake came and covered Ibum's body, causing her to be hit by the egg. Ibum came to his senses. Sunchake didn't want Ibum to kill again because she didn't want people to hold a grudge against him. Ibum felt that Sunchake would be in danger if he acted like that, but Sunchake felt that Ibum was always the one in danger. Sunchake apologized for misjudging Ibum and not being able to understand him. Ibum felt grateful that Sunchake was the first to defend him. But Ibum felt that Sunchake would be ashamed of his shameful past, because his past could cause Sunchake to leave him. When his uncle ascended the throne, Yigu's parents, Ibum's uncle and aunt, were killed. At that time, Ibum was there not to defend his family, but to side with the king. That's why Yigyu hated Ibum so much and how dangerous his hatred was. Ibum didn't wanting revenge. Yigyu will hurt Sunchake. Hearing this, Sunchake will help Ibum to overcome his past and accompany him so that Ibum can refrain from killing again. Just like Ibum is doing now. Sunchake's father said that the king would only listen to Yigyu at this time, so Sunchake tried to meet Yigyu. Sunchake asked Yigyu to help Ibum, but it would be difficult because Ibum defied the king's orders. Even though Sunchake knew Yigyu held a grudge against Ibum, Sunchake still begged Yigyu to spare Ibum's life. And if Yigyu spared him, Sunchake would do anything. Yigyu told the king that he had a brilliant idea. Since China was having trouble with barbarians on the border, the king could send Ibum to exterminate the barbarians. If the king could resolve China's problem, he could gain the attention of the Chinese emperor. But the king thought no one could fight the barbarians on the border. Yigyu continued to woo the king because it would bring honor to the country. And the king seemed to agree with Yigu's idea. Ibum could only watch Sujium along with the officials who were demanding Ibum's execution. It turned out that they had met before, and Sujium felt deeply ashamed that his father was a member of the Huxa clan. Sujium apologized and was deeply remorseful for having just learned this. But Ibum felt it wasn't Sujium's fault. No matter what happened, Ibum wouldn't blame Sujiam. Then the king ordered Ibum to go to the border and kill the barbarian general who was causing trouble for China. Ibum was willing to follow the king's orders, but he had something he wanted to convey. Ibum asked the king to be wary of Yigyu, but the king felt that the one who betrayed him was Ibum, and the one who obeyed him was Yigyu. So the king asked Ibum to be as loyal as Yigyu. Yigyu gathered the Huksa clan members, including Yuni's father. They were confused as to why Yigyu suggested the king give the order to the border for Ibum. Yigyu then explained that the path Ibum had taken would not lead him back alive. Suncheik came to Ibum's house. Before leaving for the border, Suncheik invited him to do something. They held their own, simple wedding. But Ibum was a bit worried that he might not return safely, and Suncheik encouraged him because Ibum was a person who never gave up. Then Suncheik put a ring on Ibum, and Ibum put a ring on Suncheik too. Ibum felt it was unreal because they were husband and wife. Then Suncheik made a vow as Ibum's wife, just like a real wedding. And Ibum followed Suncheik, who also said the vow that Suncheik was the only girl he loved. As Ibum was about to leave for war, Suncheik, Bangwul, and Ibum's servants encouraged Ibum. And Ibum was touched by Suncheik's words of encouragement. Then Ibum hugged Suncheik, who was crying because of his departure. Ibum asked Suncheik to stop crying. And then Suncheik gave her handkerchief to Ibum, then Ibum promised to return soon. Then Suncheik asked Bangwul to pack her clothes because she was leaving for Haziandang, Ibum's residence. Suncheik then announced that she had married Ibum. Bangwul was surprised because it was so sudden, but Bangwul still congratulated her on her marriage. It turned out that her father and mother had overheard Suncheik and Bangwul's conversation and were very surprised. Suncheik apologized for marrying without her father and mother's consent. But her mother was happy with her daughter's choice, while her father couldn't bear to see his only daughter living in a large house without her husband. Her father planned to go with Suncheik, and her mother reassured her husband to let Suncheik stay at Ibum's house. Ibum's guards were attacked, knocked unconscious. Ibum then used a shield tactic, and at another place, several men opened the prison door where Yuni was detained. Bangwul helped Suncheik pack her things. While going to get her jewelry, Suncheik saw the same knickknacks as Suncheik had seen in the real world. Suddenly, her head became very dizzy and spinning around, and finally Suncheik fainted.